So why didn't your webinar make money? That's what we're going to dive into on today's video. You're here because you're trying to figure out what you can do to get your webinar to make more money. Before we jump into it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss a video that will make you more money. And while you're down there, in the description, you can grab my free course on webinars, 5 worksheets and 5 short videos that will get you moving towards success. All right, let's jump into it. When a client comes to me with a webinar that isn't performing well, there are 3 key things that we look at. The very first one is how many people registered versus how many people showed up. Right now, the state of webinars, January 2021, it's about a 20% show up rate. So if you have 100 people register, you're going to have on average about 20 people show up. Now we found a way to get this up to above 30%. There are a couple different things that you need to look at here. The number one thing is that you have to use raw curiosity. Your opt-in page has to ask a question and have an open loop that is so powerful that people have to tune in to get the answer. The second follow-up to this is you need to send several emails and text messages to get people onto your webinar. You have to be asking for a phone number. Now, they don't have to put it in. We always just say, if you want to leave your phone number, we'll be happy to send you updates and send the webinar to your phone. This gets us about 50% of the people give us their phone number, which allow us to drive through text message. The second thing is that you need to send a lot of emails. You need to shorten the window down and send a lot of emails so that people get excited. You want to use testimonials, you want to use open loop stories, and you want to tease about what they're going to learn on the webinar. This drives people to get there because they have to get the answer. So you definitely want to follow those as best practices to get people to your webinar. The second thing that we look at when somebody comes to us with a webinar that's not converting is we look at how many people showed up at the start of the webinar and how many people were on when we got to the offer segment. If we see a lot of people drop off, then we know that there's something wrong in that section of the webinar. So there are a few things that we look at. First off, so that you understand what I mean, if you have 100 people on the front end, you want to have at least 80 of them make it to your offer. If you have more than 20% drop off, you have a serious problem going on. So there are a couple things that we look at. First off, how engaging are you? Are you keeping your energy up? Is your camera on? Are you talking with your hands? Are you using your tone of voice? Are you pacing? There was a client that I worked with that came on, and he's a healer. Great guy, but he was talking in a very monotone voice that was very peaceful and very relaxing because that's what he does. What do you think happened? So many people were falling asleep. So many people were logging off because he wasn't exciting. We just raised his energy level and we taught him ways to be more exciting, and this transformed his webinar. He had way more people on when he made the offer, which led to more money. The other things that we look at are how engaging are your stories. Remember, you want to be engaging, and to be engaging, you've got to tell stories. If you think back to high school, you had a teacher that you absolutely loved. And that teacher was amazing, right? And then you had all the other teachers that you would go into their room, they were standing at the board, they were probably lecturing, they were talking over your head, and you either fell asleep, passed notes, or if you were like me, you jetted out the back door. Why? Not because that person was teaching more. Teaching more leads to overwhelm. It also isn't nearly as engaging. Using stories to teach is much more engaging. The teacher that you know, like, and trusted, that you absolutely loved, chances are they were way more engaging, but they taught less. The same thing plays true for your webinar. You want to teach a little bit less so you don't overwhelm people, but you want to be super engaging, and you do that through stories. The other things that we look at in this starting section is how many open loops are there? How many times are you driving people to the offer? By creating great open loops and raw curiosity in the front half of your webinar that is closed at the back half, you will up your closing rate and up the number of people who make it there. All right, so the third thing that we look at when people have a webinar that's not making them money is how many people were on for the offer and how many people bought. If your percentage is very low, 5% or less, you want to look at your offer. chances are that your offer is all about you and not about solving their pain points. So not doing a stack, just throwing the offer out there first off, is not a good way to make an offer. There's a reason that every high converting offer uses a stack. A stack is your main item that you're offering for sale, plus 5 line items underneath of it, plus 2 bonuses. That is the ideal framework for the offer stack that you want to use to get a highly converting webinar. Now, you might have all of those things in your webinar, but it's still not converting well. And chances are, if that's true, then the items that are in your stack are not compelling. They're not overcoming objections of your ideal client and your audience. Instead, they're just things that you threw in there because it's what you wanted to offer. What I would tell you is go look at what else is out there because you need to change your stack around. A good converting offer converts at somewhere between 4 and 10%. Anything under 4%, you want to look at your offer and really dial it in, and you want to make sure that you're doing a stack. I've looked at several webinars where people say, I've got a ton of people on, they're staying till the end and no one's buying, and they didn't have a stack. They were just doing 1 or 2 line items and then putting their price up there, telling people to buy and bouncing off. The third thing that we look at the end is how many questions are you answering? If you're not staying on your webinar and you're not answering questions, chances are that you are losing a lot of sales right there. Now you might be saying, well, Steve, I do an evergreen webinar. You should still be answering questions. Brainstorm a list of 10, 15, 20 questions and answer them before you jump off. The whole idea is that when you put that first price up on the screen, people say maybe. They're on what I call the maybe fence. Your job is to move them off of that. And that is through answering questions and having a great stack. Now, I know I said that there were only 3 things, but I'm going to give you one more as a bonus item. More than 50% of sales on a great webinar come in the follow-up sequence. And if you're not getting a lot of sales in your follow-up sequence, you need to look at it. A follow-up sequence is at least 8 emails going out from the time you do the webinar until the cart closes. If you're running an evergreen webinar, you can still do this through software, and it will drive your sales way up. So it is something you definitely need to look at. You need to be sending emails, you need to be sending text messages, and you need to be sending powerful pieces of information, testimonials, and bonuses in that follow-up sequence to drive more sales. If you have questions about any of this, leave them in the comments down below. I'll be sure to answer them for you because I want to help you build a webinar that converts. While you're down there, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss a video that will make you money. You can also grab my free course on webinars in the description down below. Last but not least, if you're listening to this and you're like, I have a webinar and I follow what you're saying, but I just don't know how to fix it, and you want me to look at it, I do webinar breakthroughs. There's a link in the description down below that will let you book a webinar breakthrough with me, where I will go through your webinar and I'll show you line by line, slide by slide, what's converting, what's not converting, and how to fix it. Again, that link is down below in the descriptions. All right, until next time, take action, change lives, and make money. I'll see you soon.